Zonk, bam, kapow, wow.
Attention, you unfathomable sphinx.
What's going on, peeps? Mastermyne here. So today's video we are going to be talking about the EVO 2017 fighting game lineup. And oh man, this is going to cause a lot of controversy, and we knew that this was going to happen. I have a lot to talk about, so first, let's go ahead and start off with the actual lineup. So at the top we have Street Fighter V, we have Guilty Gear Revelator, we have Smash Brothers for the Wii U, we have Smash Brothers Melee, Injustice 2, BlazBlue, Central Fiction, Tekken 7, King of Fighters 14, and the last one, and this is where the controversy comes in, is going to be determined by a community charity donation drive. Now, the 9 games that we're talking about here that could be the potential last game to get into the event goes as follows: Mortal Kombat XL, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Skullgirls, Pokken Tournament, Killer Instinct, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, ARMS, Windjammers, and Nidhogg. So here's where I'm kind of upset with the way things are going regarding the lineup. First of all, I'm not one of these kind of people that are just clinging to what's the most popular. Because if we're basing it off of what's the most popular, Street Fighter 4 would still be in the mix. And maybe even more so than Street Fighter 4, Third Strike would be on the list. Even though they still have Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo as one of the alternative games, Third Strike is nowhere to be found on that. But I'm not getting into all of that. I want to talk about what's relevant as far as the 9 games that they have possibly on reserve to make the last slot, and the actual official lineup. So let's go back and look at the official lineup first. So the first game we have here is Street Fighter V. I don't think this is a controversy. I think most people acknowledge that Street Fighter V is going to be the top game at EVO. When you think of EVO, you think of usually the most popular Street Fighter game at the time, or the most current one. So there you have Street Fighter V. No controversy, moving on. The next game on the list is Guilty Gear Revelator 2. Now, I enjoy watching Guilty Gear. I think it's a beautiful game. It plays well. I personally don't really know too much about the game. I haven't really played it all that much. I've played it a couple of times, but it's not anything really that I've really gotten into. But I do acknowledge that the community for it is pretty strong. I do acknowledge that the community for it is quite competitive, and I do believe this is one of the games that deserves to be at EVO. Now keep in mind, and I want to continue to reiterate this, I'm not into Guilty Gear as much as some of the other fighting games on this list. There's a lot of games that I play, and that just happens to be one of those games where when it really came out, I kind of was in the middle of a lot of other things. So I'm saying that I think it deserves to be there because of its community, because it's a relevant game, it's somewhat still pretty new, and people are still playing it. And I just think when you have a game like that doesn't have the exposure, let's say, of a Street Fighter V or a Mortal Kombat and such, I think it needs to be on there for that particular reason. It needs the exposure, and that's what the fighting game community really needs. So I just wanted to stay consistent and make sure that I got that clear. So the next game on the list is Smash Brothers for the Wii U. Now, this is going to be one of the Sunday games, just like Street Fighter V, so it's going to be really featured and pushed out front. Now, where I have a problem with some of this isn't so much with Smash Brothers for the Wii U, because I do believe that it needs to be there. Now, I'll be the first one to say that I think the Smash Brothers series is more so casual than a hardcore fighting game. Now, I know the people who are into it are completely skilled and would totally probably school me and give me a whole breakdown as to why this game is so complicated and why the games are so great. And that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm saying is it's not quite Tekken or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct. It's not that traditional kind of fighting game that we're used to seeing. But because of that, it probably, even more so than a lot of the other games on this list, deserves its spot. So I have no problems with Smash Brothers for the Wii U. My issue is Smash Brothers Melee. Now, let's talk about Smash Brothers Melee for a moment. This game came out on the GameCube in 2001. Understand that a lot of the people watching EVO weren't even alive when that game came out. Let's keep in mind that that is 16 years ago on the GameCube. Now, when you see this on the stream, it doesn't look good. None of the fighting games really look particularly well when you're looking at it through a stream. I don't care how good your internet connection is, the stream quality is never quite exactly like it is when you're actually playing the game. So you take that with a 16-year-old game that's in standard definition, not even in high definition, and then you're streaming it, it just presents poorly. It doesn't look good. And that's not even my biggest gripe with it. Neither is the fact that the game is 16 years old. My biggest gripe with this game being on the list is that we have another Smash Brothers, a newer version of it that's there. Now, I'm gonna say it straight up, because a lot of people, I know that community is divided and there's still some great players playing Melee and whatever. This is how it breaks down. If we applied the same rules to Nintendo, and I know I harp on Nintendo a lot, but if we applied the same rules to Nintendo and their fanboys as we do everyone else, this is how it would play out. It would only be Smash Brothers for the Wii U that would be at EVO. Do you know why? Because if we set the same standard to Capcom, let's say, as we do Nintendo, then a very popular version of Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, would be on that list, or maybe Third Strike, or maybe Street Fighter 4, maybe Ultra Street Fighter 4, or Vanilla Street Fighter 4, or whatever fucking version of Street Fighter you want to put on there, those would be on there as well. Why is it that we don't have multiple Street Fighter games, but we have multiple Smash Brother games? Why is it we don't have Mortal Kombat 9 or Mortal Kombat 2 or Mortal Kombat 3? I'm not saying I'm advocating for EVO to have a bunch of retro games. That's not what I want. So I don't want to see 4 different versions of Street Fighter, or even 2 different versions of Street Fighter. I don't want to see multiple versions of Mortal Kombat. I want to see the most relevant of that franchise. And the newest and most relevant of that franchise is Smash Brothers for the Wii U, period, end of story. Smash Brothers Melee for the GameCube, released 16,000 years ago. Your grandpa's version of Smash Brothers does not belong at EVO 2017. Now, the next game on this list is Injustice 2, and here's another game where I just feel like it does not belong at EVO 2017. And let me explain, because I don't want people to think that I'm contradicting myself. I believe that this game is actually one of the games on the list that's too new. When this game gets released, it's going to happen, I believe it's going to happen in March or April, I'm not too sure, but that's only really giving pro players maybe a month or 2 months to prepare. And here's another crazy thing that I think they're not considering. Injustice 2 is going to have like 30 something characters at launch, on top of 9 DLC characters in the future. So it's going to have 40 characters. So you're telling me that they're going to have a month, 2 months, 3 months tops to prepare and discover which characters they want to use in such of a huge roster? Now, I understand that this is a new game and there's a lot of money being pumped into it and there's a lot of popularity and a lot of things swarming about it. Coincidentally, the EVO list comes out the same day they start putting out the beta for Injustice 2, so it almost seems like just a huge big promotional thing going on there, and I don't like that. I don't think it needs to be on this thing so early as far as being on the main stage. I don't have a problem with them showing off gameplay of new characters or talking about it or having side little tournaments with it or maybe an exhibition match. But for them to turn around and just say, nope, this game doesn't have a community yet, it's not really out yet, and it's gonna come out, but nobody really is gonna know how to play it right away. But we're gonna go ahead and just give it a space despite the community efforts in other fighting games that aren't gonna make it. I think this is unfair. I don't think it needs to be or deserves to be on this particular list. And it really bothers me. Of all the games on this list, I actually have more of a beef with them putting Injustice 2, and I'm really looking forward to this game. I hope it's spectacular. I love Injustice 1, and I love almost everything I'm seeing with Injustice 2. I just don't think it deserves to be at EVO 2017. Now, next year, it's going to be the hype, and I think that's where it needs to be really showcased in 2018. Not this year, it's too soon. BlazBlue Central Fiction, I believe, should be one of these games that are on the reserve list of fighting games for the lineup. I don't think it should be one of the main games on here, let alone on one of the Sunday showcases for EVO 2017. I just don't understand how that whole thing worked out. I think there are plenty of other games on the reserve list that are way more deserving than BlazBlue. This is no knock on any of the communities that I'm talking about here. Not for Smash Brothers, not for Injustice. Injustice doesn't really have a community yet, but we know it's gonna have one. But this isn't any knock on any particular player or of any lover of those games. All I'm saying is there are more deserving games, and I don't know, BlazBlue, I'm just kind of confused. I think there are other games that are way more deserving. So Tekken 7, this is a game that's been available in Japan in the arcades for a couple of years now. And I understand that the reason why it's taken so long is because they're adding characters and they wanted more content for a home version and yada 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 yada. I don't understand why this is actually a thing. Again, this is another game where I feel like American players aren't going to have much of an opportunity to get their hands on the game and really explore what this game is and showcase it at a tournament. Same thing, I feel the same exact way for Injustice 2. It's too soon, it's just coming out, and again, if you're going to have mainly just Japanese players playing Tekken 7, okay, that's great. They're gonna come all the way from Japan and showcase their stuff on Tekken 7, and I'm sure it's gonna be an awesome looking tournament. My whole thing is it's kind of an unfair advantage. This is an American tournament. Well, this is an international tournament, so I believe that it should be at least considered, hey, this game has been available for everybody evenly or at least for a certain duration of time. So yes, we're gonna put it out there, but Tekken 7 doesn't fall in that category. And just like Injustice 2, I just don't feel it should be there. Not this year, but definitely next year. Now, the last game on this list is King of Fighters 14. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a huge fan of King of Fighters 14. I think for me, fighting games need to look really, really good, and I think this is just one of those games that doesn't look good. It plays well, and it doesn't look horrible, but just by today's standards, it's kind of weak. And that's not the reason why I'm feeling like it shouldn't be on there, but just like BlazBlue, I think there are more deserving games, but this is the most relevant and newest game in this franchise, so I can understand people definitely wanting to see it. I just think there are more deserving games. So that is the official EVO 2017 lineup. So of the 8 games that are officially announced that are going to be at the EVO 2017 lineup, I pretty much said that I definitely want to see 3 of those games that are on the official lineup, and that's Street Fighter V, Guilty Gear, and Smash Brothers for the Wii U. Everything else, I can take it or leave it. Some like Injustice and Melee, I feel should not be on this list at all, and I would also put Tekken 7 on there. So if I was creating 9 games that I would want to see at the EVO 2017 lineup, this is how it would be. It would be Street Fighter V, Guilty Gear, Smash Brothers for the Wii U. Now, sticking with this list, even though I've already said that I think other games are more deserving, I'm also going to just say that I think BlazBlue and King of Fighters 14 should round out what's already on the official 2017 lineup. So, the next games that should be on the list, that's 5, so we're looking at 9 games. So the next ones I think that should be on here should be Mortal Kombat XL, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Skullgirls, and Killer Instinct. So that is my list of games that I would have liked to see at EVO 2017. This isn't in any particular order, but I do feel like this would have been the best lineup for this tournament this year. I am extremely disappointed because a lot of these great games we're not going to see at the highest competitive level that we should be seeing these games being played. And I think the main game for me obviously is Killer Instinct. And if I can just say, I don't think that it's really gotten the props that it deserves. It really hasn't garnered the attention that I think it should have. If you look at Killer Instinct and you see how great the gameplay is, how fun it is, how awesome the graphics still are even after a couple of years, and just the way the game plays and a whole, meta game behind it, the combo breakers, counter breakers, and all the things that are in there, I think it really should be out there and pushed and promoted and loved because it's really a love letter to fighting games. And I know I sound like a total fanboy when I say that, but it really is the truth. Anybody who's ever really given the game a certain amount of time appreciates what they've put into it. And the fact that the game is still going. We just got Kilgore, new character. We're about to get a few more characters, and we're also getting ultimates, new ending moves for the characters. So with all of this new content, I don't understand if the game is still relevant and the community still loves it, why is it that it's not getting the support? And you can say the same thing for Skullgirls, you can say the same thing even for Guilty Gear, even though it made it. You can say the same things for a lot of the fighting games. Why aren't certain fighting games getting the attention that they deserve? And we're still talking about games like, Smash Brothers Melee, and we're talking about games that aren't even out yet, like Injustice 2 and Tekken 7 in America. I don't understand why we're at this point in this community, but it seems like what's driving the forces behind EVO and a few of the other tournaments really have nothing to do with community or improving the community or, having great fighting games and representing that. I think it has more to do with kind of a popularity contest, and I don't think that always translates well when we're talking about fighting games. I think for an event like this to get the exposure, this event is going to help whatever game is at that event. And I think Killer Instinct would be perfect. But I don't think it's going to make it. I think Marvel vs. Capcom 3 will probably be the one, or it may be Mortal Kombat XL. I hope it's not ARMS. I don't even want to get into that, but we certainly don't need that to happen, and that's just my opinion. But anyway, if you got something to say, leave a comment down below. I definitely want to hear what my audience and just people in the fighting game community have to say about this. I am a small, tiny YouTube channel, and I really appreciate all of the support I've gotten thus far. I do this because I love this, and I believe that I definitely have some insight and experience that I want to share with all of you. And if you enjoy this sort of content, don't forget to show your support by giving me a thumbs up and subscribing. Thank you once again for watching, and until next time, Mastermyne out.
Fight! If Robin and I were to remove our masks, the secret of our true identities would be revealed.
Completely destroying their value as ace crime fighters.
Well, if I only had a nickel for every time he's baffled us.